What's up, guys? X Ricci here, bringing you episode 2 of the F1 podcast on my YouTube channel. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for the support on the first episode. Wow, we talked for 50-something minutes with my two best friends, Erica and Andrew, about a crazy Grand Prix in Hungary, just to end off the first half of the season with Ocon winning for Alpine and Mercedes coming second and Ferrari coming third after Sebastian Vettel got DNF'd. Crazy race, and then we just led right into the summer break. And so much has happened over the summer, and this episode's actually going to be very unique. And the reason why this episode is going to be very unique is because it's the summer. It was a little hard to kind of get together to do this episode, and we really wanted to do this episode before the Belgium Grand Prix to kind of talk about what we're thinking myself, Erica, and Andrew. What are we thinking about before the race? What are we thinking about going into the race? Highlight who do we think is going to be on the podium? Who's going to be surprised? Who's going to surprise us? Everything like that. But unfortunately, our schedules were very conflicting this week. So we decided for this unique episode is we're each going to dive in about 6 to 7 minutes. And we've sent each other our audio tapes. And I got to compile this all into one episode. And I'm going to post it before, I think, P1 and P2 practice on Friday, I think. I think that's the plan. We'll see. But nevertheless, I just want to say thank you guys so much for the support. It really means a lot, and we've had a lot of fun our first episode. So so much has happened over the summer, and I think each one of us are going to talk about it. So I'm going to take a quick short break and then jump right back into the discussion with myself, and then I'm going to turn it over to Andrew, and then I'm going to turn it over to Erica, and Erica's going to turn it right back to me, and then we'll close it off. But make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to like me on YouTube and obviously my Twitch, where I've live streamed a lot of games, playing a lot of F1. Was replaying some Red Dead Redemption 2, just playing a little bit of FIFA 2. But enough about that. Let's get right into the first discussion that I'm going to talk about the summer. So we're just going to take a quick 3-second break, and then we're just going to get right into it. So I'll see you shortly. And we are back, and I'm excited to kind of talk about some of the gossip that happened this summer. And as I'm doing this on August 25th, this is actually technically the 30-year anniversary where Michael Schumacher made his debut at the 1991 Belgium Grand Prix. So what better way to go back to Belgium with a nice little throwback for one of the greatest drivers of all time. Speaking about Ferrari, they came out earlier this month with regarding a new power unit. Looks like they're trying to, they're building for 2022, but they're also not afraid to kind of make some changes to the car and see if we can score some points in the later half of the season. I mean, I won't lie. I think, the next couple of tracks are going to be, next couple of races are going to be probably more tougher for Ferrari. I think definitely we kind of saw that when Carlos Sainz couldn't keep up with Hamilton. Hamilton on his back in the last race, and I think there's no secret there. Having said that, I think definitely Ferrari has really picked it up this year, and it's actually really great to see that, and especially they have two good quality drivers, Leclerc and Sainz, and able to kind of battle it out between each other. One of the most interesting stories that actually came out, so the second part, so first part, kind of see how they're going to come with their engine, how are they going to handle the next couple of races, especially on those straightaways with some of the other teams, with Red Bull and Mercedes. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the story that came out about Toto Wolff and being accused of inside trading, what drama just to start going into the second half of the season, targeting Toto Wolff. However, it came out earlier today that him and Lawrence Stroll were looked in regarding suspicions of insider trading, and they ended up being cleared without the need for an investigation. So, was a story for a couple of days and gone. So,
that was kind of interesting to see some of the gossip coming in the summer. I think we also saw that Lewis Hamilton wants uh, Valtteri Bottas as his driver going into 2022. I think that's no surprise. Bottas is a team player. As much as we don't want him to be a team player, I want him to kind of start competing against Hamilton, because like that would make it more exciting. We can get a little bit of like Hamilton and Rosberg fighting it out, just like the old days. But yeah, it would be kind of nice. But it's just tough. Like I kind of would love that in that battle, but Bottas knows what he has to do for the team. And I don't know if you guys saw this, and I don't know if anyone caught this. I don't know if you saw this or caught this too. Basically the same thing. But Fernando Alonso started tweeting out some random codes for no reason, and Ocon replied with codes too. So it's like, what are they trying to say? What are they trying to dish out? It's gonna be. I'm actually very intrigued what Alpine's gonna do going forward in the next couple races. Like, Ocon had an amazing race last year, but like, do I think that he can maybe do that again? Probably not. If I can be quite frank, he's a good driver. There was a lot that happened that was made it possible for him to do that, and like his teammate Fernando Alonso really helped him out there in the final stages of the Hungary Grand Prix. Spa is not going to be an easy track. There's definitely some more of the advanced drivers are going to do much better in this track, and I think there's no secret. So I definitely do see some of the Mercedes and Red Bull and maybe McLaren will kind of dominate this track. But predictions. I think, looking at the weather, it's going to rain all weekend, and that could be a dumpster fire for a number of things going into that first turn. So I think I'm going to play the safe bet this weekend, and I think Hamilton, just based on the last couple of weeks of his success and him climbing back and able to kind of capitalize on Max Verstappen crashing, I think that's definitely Hamilton. My money is on Hamilton to win this race, and I think it's going to be a Red Bull second. Maybe it is a Max Verstappen. I want to say it might be a Ferrari 3, but I'm just going to put my money on Lando. Lando has been having an amazing season, and he's not stopping. And he is definitely the one that's carrying McLaren right now going, and they're going to need that, because right now Ferrari and McLaren are literally tied for they're tied for the constructors 163 for third place. So this is going to be like a fight to the end for those two teams, and I'm like absolutely excited for that. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how the rest of that season goes. Another thing I kind of want to, the big thing I forgot to mention is, as we kind of move into the second part of the season, there's going to be a lot of pressure on drivers. A lot of drivers in particular, because they want to give a reason why they can keep their seats for next year. I'm looking, honestly, I'm thinking of like Daniel Ricciardo. He's notorious. I think I talked about this in the first episode. His first year was Renault was really bad, and then he was able to bounce back and come back and at least get some podiums. But maybe he's going to be on the hot seat. He's sitting ninth with 50 points, tied with Pierre Gasly, and he's got 50 points. Lando Norris has 113. Clearly Lando's carrying the team. So, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Danny Rick towards the end of the season. I'm looking at Lance Stroll, who's got, a dismal 18 points. This guy was able to get some points last year, and, this has definitely not been his season. The most he's got is, I think, 4 points at, let me just look at it. I think Monza, the Italian, and it looks like the Austria Grand Prix. Oh, and Great Britain Grand Prix. So, my eyes are on Lance. I understand, his dad owns the team and whatnot. He's a big wig, but he needs to start pulling some points in order for Aston Martin to get up there. And it'll be. I'm kind of keeping my eye on Fernando Alonso. Will he be able to make some moves more up? I think definitely the way he was driving last race really proved. Um, and could Sebastian Vettel basically bounce back from being DQ'd? Uh, he had 3 straight weeks of points, and then the rest have been zeros. So it'll be interesting. And, could Valtteri Bottas catch up to Lando and hold P3 in the standings? I think there's definitely a lot of possibilities there. So, that's my thinking. I'm interested to see the battle between McLaren and Ferrari for third at the constructors going into the second season, and want to see how Carlos Sainz and Leclerc bounce back after a pretty decent first half, and see if they're able to capitalize on just one driver leading McLaren. Yeah, got to keep my eyes out on Lance Stroll. Definitely Yuki Tsunoda. See if he can get some more points this season, because I think he is also a driver that might have a little bit of competition himself. If someone does really well in F2, basically might take a seat up. But yeah, there's a lot of possibilities, and that's just some of my predictions. Might have been all over the place, but I think we'll have a little bit more of a better structure next time. So enough about me talking. I'm going to turn it over to our other co-host, Andrew. Andrew, take it away.
Thanks, Richie. Yes, it's your boy Andrew here, coming you back to live on EP2 of our F1 podcast. It is over. Summer break is finally done. And get out the waffle makers, ladies and gentlemen, because we are heading to Belgium for this week's Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps. I believe that's what the French call it. So pretty interesting stuff happened over the summer break with regards to some cool gossip, and I'm going to dive right into that right now. First and foremost, if you listen to episode 1, I kind of had a prediction that Hamilton would want to keep Bottas as his teammate going into next season with regards to Mercedes because of their relationship going forward. And there's some substance to that, as Bottas is confirmed, I guess, or revealed in a Finnish interview that the Hammer, Mr. Hamilton, would want him to be his teammate in 2022 because of their working relationship and how well they've been doing together at Mercedes. No shock there, as it would give Hamilton the opportunity to vie for, if he doesn't win his 8th this year, his 9th next year, or his 8th next year. If he doesn't win it this year, if he does win his 8th this year, a 9th next year. But Toto Wolff has confirmed that in September, there's going to be a deadline set for who's going to be the next driver. And that could either, make it a pretty straightforward re-signing of drivers for this summer, or it's going to create chaos in the driver market. And I'm really interested to seeing what's going to happen there. Second, from Chris Medlin of The Racer, and he does some F1. He does writing for F1.com and Sky Sports. There are talks that there's going to be another potential U.S. owner coming into Formula One, and that Andretti Autosport team owner Michael Andretti was in discussion with Haas owner Gene Haas this past couple of weeks to purchase the team from him, but it didn't really go beyond any initial conversations. So he's looking at Alfa Romeo Sauber's ownership group as an opportunity to buy in, as well as Williams Racing, their ownership group, which just took over this past year in 2020. So it should be really interesting in seeing that case. And, we were talking about last week about if Haas, doesn't do well in 2022, like how much more money does Gene put into the game, into the sport? And this could be the way out with regards to that. So it will be interesting to see how that goes. According to Motorsport Magazine, this is an interesting one. Dr. Helmut Marko at Red Bull Racing had revealed that their repairs was approximately 3 million euros due to the Mercedes crashes in both Hungary and at Silverstone, which is wild. All things considered, that there is the cap this year, I think around $34 million US dollars. So, with regards to the exchange rate, that's quite a bit of money coming up, and that could have some huge implications going for the title fight, as I'll kind of explain before going into my lookout for Spa. But this could have some huge implications with regards to Red Bull's push for the title in either constructors and for Max this year. Also, another gossip that I read is that there are talks of replacement races for Japan and Australia. One being at Qatar's Lusail International Circuit. It is a grade 1 circuit that can fit by the FIA standards. That can have a F1 race there. Right now, it's used mainly for MotoGP since 2004, I believe. But from the looks of the circuit, it looks very much so a bunch of turns. I think one DRS zone would be viable. So it's going to be similar to like a Hungary, similar to like a Monaco. Not many overtaking, but a lot of technical driving, and that could create some chaos if it, if the race pulls out that way. So with the gossip and overall, my thoughts leading up to Spa is that this Red Bull Mercedes title battle is going to heat up, but it's also going to heat up, but at what cost is my question. So, alluding back to earlier with regards to Marco's comment that it was about 3 million euros in repairs, and with regards to 2022 coming up and the huge regulation changes going there, like who will budge first to focus on the development for their 2022 car and kind of push that focus there to ensure that they have a competitive race car for next year. So I think this will be a set off for a huge race this weekend. I think if Mercedes pulls away, say a 1-2 lockout on the podium with, say, Red Bull coming in third and, with another place in the top 10, does that really push Red Bull into the idea of maybe we should start focusing on next year? Or do you think that they're going to keep fighting this season for that title battle? So it's going to be a push and pull tactic right here to see at what point do they really have to focus on 2022 and kind of call themselves out of this year's race. Or, if Max wins this weekend, I think this is going to be we're going to have an insane battle coming down to the end. And I really think that both teams are going to, put all their efforts in 2021 to kind of win this title and then have focus on 2022 in the off season. But big questions to come up from there. Another big factor I think this weekend is going to be is the rain. So looking at the Weather Network right now, it looks like there is a lot of rain and some cold weather in the forecast for this weekend at Spa, because it is like going to be like getting maybe high as 16 and rain all weekend. So if we're going to have another rain race, I don't expect, I bet there will be a crash go like before Eau Rouge or going into Eau Rouge, because again, Spa is an amazing track and one of the most beautiful tracks on the circuit, but it has that tight first turn and it, goes to that deadly speed straight down with regards to Eau Rouge, going from the huge elevation changes and how quick that is. So we'll never know. With the rain, you never know how that's going to play out, but I think it's going to be a hectic race this weekend if it continues to rain. Continuing on, there's a couple of milestones to look out for this weekend. First being that it's the 50th race for the Red Bull Honda tandem. So 50th race with Red Bull using the Honda engine, and it's the 200th race of Danny Ric's career in Formula One. So it should be interesting to see how he does this weekend with regards to this milestone race coming up for him. And then with the uncertainty still in the driver's market, watch for drivers to make their mark this weekend and vie for why they should still be in Formula One. The top two that come to mind are Valtteri for Mercedes and, locking that second position down. And as well as Perez, Perez hasn't had a couple of good showings with regards to Red Bull, but there is the opportunity. I think he's done an amazing job when compared to, say, Gasly and Albon have done in the past couple of years since Danny Ric left. But again, nothing is guaranteed in this world. So I think Perez has the opportunity to really cement his seat in Red Bull with a couple of good races, starting with Spa this weekend. So then going into my podium predictions then, with everything said, Hamilton has dominated at this track for years, and evidently last year he blew the field away. So I really can see Hamilton winning again, considering also that Max has never led a lap, I think, at Spa. I know they have a good card this year, but I think Hamilton loves this track. He's won it, I think, 4 or 5 times there. So I see him winning this weekend, but I see Verstappen going second. He's hungry for a title, and I think he's going to really push himself to get into the points this weekend, into that podium of second place, maybe even win. But I think it's going to be Hamilton, Verstappen 1-2. And my third, going to go a little off the board here, but I don't think it's too off the board. I'm going to say Charles Leclerc. Ferrari has done traditionally pretty well at these at this track, with Charles having a pole in 2019. But I think Ferrari are starting to make wonders going on in this track, and I think Charles is going to do. He's had some great form over these past few races, so I think he's going to finish third this weekend. And my surprise prediction of the weekend, it's just 200th Grand Prix, and Danny Rick loves a good time. So what better way to finish in the top 5 this weekend for Danny Rick? I think Danny Rick is going to have a good showing in McLaren. He's had the summer break to prepare for this. It's a good milestone. Spa is, Spa. It's a beautiful track and a lot of high-speed corners. But I think Danny is going to really pull it off and get his get a top 5 finish this weekend with McLaren. It really showed pretty much a case as to why he should be there for the next couple of years. So that's my predictions for this weekend at Spa. I'm going to hand it over to Erica to finish up her predictions. Thanks.
Thanks, Andrew. So I think it's going to be a little weird as we come back from the summer break. I mean, we've seen a few things happen. I think we've all been curious to see how Red Bull is going to fare after having to rebuild Max's car basically from the ground up a second time after both Silverstone and Hungary. But I think what will be really interesting to see is what happens with Mercedes and Aston Martin after the news that was coming out today with Toto Wolff and the rumors that there may have been some insider trading involved when he bought some shares in Aston Martin. I know he and Lawrence Stroll are really tight, so I guess we'll have to see how that pans out. I think that his removal from the team, if anything were to happen at Mercedes, would be pretty devastating, at least for the rest of the season. I mean, I know that Mercedes has a very strong team there, but there's only so much that we can really do without him because he's been at the helm for so long. But I think Aston Martin would fare a little better in that deal because I know Lawrence Stroll isn't really one of the ones that they're investigating for insider trading or corruption or anything at this point. So we'll have to see how that goes. I mean, from a driver standpoint, I think we're going to see a few people really trying to push here toward the end of the season. I think Esteban Ocon is going to be really curious to see how he fares at coming off the win in Hungary. I think he's really going to be trying to push to keep that momentum going, even though I think a lot of people see that more as an outlier. But again, he's proven himself in the past. He's a pretty great driver, and I don't think he should be overlooked. And I don't think Alonso should be overlooked either. I mean, he's been such a great defensive driver for the last couple of races that if Alpine has a really great strategy going forward and they fare well going into the first couple of turns this weekend, they might get themselves in a really nice position to come toward the top of the pack. And I'm really hoping that those two do well. I really like the vibe that they've got going on, and I'd like to see someone other than Mercedes and Red Bull on the podium, or at least, putting some pressure on some of those other teams. In terms of who I think is going to shine at Spa, in our chat earlier this week, I think it was Ricci shared that there was some rain predicted all throughout the weekend, and I'm sure if it was Andrew, he's cursing under his breath right now. But we've seen, especially throughout this season, that Hamilton's skill when it comes to driving in wet conditions is very difficult to match. He's one of the few people who hasn't really spun out or been thrown off the track by someone else, and he's been able to maintain his car really well. And I think that if we do end up seeing that kind of inclement weather, that's going to continue to be how this weekend goes. But I would really like to see, in terms of people we haven't seen on the podium in a little while, I'd love to see Sebastian on there. I mean, it really does suck that after the fuel incident, he was stripped of his podium. But really, I'd like to see Verstappen on the podium again. I mean, this guy has barely got to race in the last couple of weeks. It's been such a nightmare. And I really want to see kind of another battle come back for the Drivers' Championship. I mean, right now Hamilton's only ahead by 8 points, but I think we could continue to kind of keep a really fun back and forth going between the two drivers if he podiums. I'd love to see a win, but with the inclement weather right now and knowing what the performance of the Red Bull car has been like this season, I'm tempted to say that we're going to have Hamilton first. I think we may see some of the more experienced drivers doing well, but I would love to see Verstappen at least in second. And then because he's one of my favorite young drivers, I'd love to see Norris in third. I don't know if that's going to be what it is. I think we may get a little bit more of a shakeup. I mean, I think we could see Vettel on there if the Red Bull car spins out, and we could see someone like Alonso or Vettel really putting the pressure on some of the other drivers that remain. But if conditions stay well, that's really the podium I would like to see. And I think that it's going to be an interesting weekend. I think the fans, the drivers, the teams, everyone is really gung-ho to get back to it after this break. I mean, my weekends have felt so empty without this, as sad as it is to say. I mean, I've been busy running around all over the place, but it's really nice to sit down in the morning with a coffee, watch the races, chat with your friends about it, and kind of see what's going on this week. I'm already planning on spending an obscene amount of money on Montreal next year and potentially Miami as well. And even just 1 month without racing and finally watching Drive to Survive, which I hadn't watched before. It's so entertaining. You can just fly through it. I'm super anxious for racing to start this week. I'm already looking at my fantasy lineups and trying to figure out which combos will be best to toss in at the last minute given conditions. And yeah, just to circle back, I mean, Spa is a notoriously interesting track, so if things go well, I'm thinking it's going to be Hamilton, Verstappen, and Norris I'd like to see, but it really depends on how aggressive with strategies people are being and how defensive the driving is, considering what the weather conditions might be. So I think this is pretty well up in the air. I think a lot of teams have been working on their setup, and the drivers have been putting in a lot of work, some more than others, but we'll leave that to see how it pans out when everyone comes back. So I'm going to send it back to Richie to wrap it up, and then hopefully this coming week we're able to give you guys a little bit more info and a little bit more of a breakdown after what happens at Spa. Off to you, Richie.
Thanks, Erica. And also thank you, Andrew, for your comments as well. Guys, I know we're going to do another live one for episode 3, but I just want to say very happy with what we were able to do on very short notice. So thanks again. And what do you guys think? What do you think is going to happen at Spa? What do you think is going to happen at the second half of the season? So much can happen in this sport, and that's what makes F1 so much fun to watch. And I just want to say thank you guys again for all the support that you supported myself, Andrew, and Erica. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to like me on YouTube. Make sure to watch my Twitch channel. And get ready for an action-packed Belgian Grand Prix this Sunday. Looking forward to it. And we'll see you guys in episode 3 of the F1 podcast. Thanks, guys.